Hi, I'm Megan. Welcome to today's live reading of The Importance of Being Roxie by Cori Cooper, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Join me. Chapter 1, Roxie's Revelation. I walked through the doors of Cromer High School with Jamie and Brody on the first day of our senior year. We were talking and laughing per the norm when my eyes went to the giant mural of a prowling panther across two walls in the Commons. My sister, Pyper, commissioned that mural as a senior class gift 4 years ago. Just like that, my stomach dropped to my toes. I stopped walking so abruptly that I caused a six-student pileup with multiple exclamations and curses. Someone dropped an atomic potty word before they got the memo that my lane was closed and people should go around me. Roxie? Jamie glanced over her shoulder but couldn't stop. The sea of students had already swallowed Brody. My mouth worked without any sound. I waved one arm forward and mouthed blockers. It was all I could do. Jamie disappeared, and I elbowed my way to a corner of the commons where I could put a huge red pole between myself and the mural. Not that it made a difference. I could feel the panther watching me through the pole. I closed my eyes, and even then, all I could see was the enormous black panther spanning the walls in a crouched position. Its mouth was half open to reveal fangs sharper than Cary Grant's wit and a tongue that rolled toward the ground like a red carpet. The thing wanted to swallow me whole. I leaned against the pole and tried to catch my breath. It wasn't helping that scenes from my life kept flashing before my eyes. It freaked me out a little bit, not going to lie. I thought that only happened when someone had a near-death experience. Flash, making Barbie clothes with Jamie for my mom's scrap basket and using craft scissors to get the dolls awesome new hairstyles. Flash, elementary school, trying to convince everyone I wasn't related to my brother Kai, who was on a first name basis with the principal and the janitor. Flash, middle school, shopping with Pyper and trying on her clothes when she wasn't home. The memories slowed down when I got to high school, like they were slogging through a vat of extra thick honey. 3 years of Friday night movies with Brody and Jamie, watching old movies that weren't even cool when they were released a billion years ago, sewing outfits that I designed myself and loved to death, but for sure didn't look anything like the popular girls wore, hanging out with my family, and yes, still playing with dolls because that was the best way to model my creations before I made them life size. It was all wrong. I had done high school all wrong. Here I was on my last first day of school. And what did I have to show for it? Nothing. Not like Pyper. Pyper did things. She was the senior class vice president and president for other 3 years. She wrote the advice column for the school paper with that cute little play on her middle name, Sage Advice. People loved her advice so much they searched the whole mall to ask her opinion on what jeans to buy. She tutored elementary school kids and counseled other students for peers, which was probably why she was now killing it in her college psychology courses. She was a cheerleader her freshman year and I think sophomore, maybe sophomore year too. She played volleyball and ran track. On top of all that, she made honor roll every year and was head of the committee that planned their entire dang prom. I'd never even been to prom, much less planned it. I thought I had my life figured out. I thought hanging out with my friends and family and winning local fashion contests was good. I thought working on my design application for the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City, my dream college, was enough. But suddenly, it wasn't. It wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough. How could I move on to do anything extraordinary with my life when I hadn't done a single memorable thing in high school? Someone jostled my backpack on their way to the band hall. Sorry, they said without even looking at me. I knew I couldn't stay behind this pillar forever. Jamie and Brody were waiting for me at the lockers, but I desperately wished I could. I rubbed the corners of my eyes where they stung. Just had to get through this day. Then I could go home, put on fluffy pajamas, and sort all of this out. I took a deep breath and stepped out from behind the pillar. The panther and Piper's brilliant mural drew my attention like a magnetic force. It curled its left paw around the letter C, and it stared at me with bright yellow eyes, challenging eyes. Something rose inside me then. Determination billowed around my stomach, flooding my chest. I pulled my shoulders into perfect posture and met the panther's gaze. It didn't know anything. Today was only the first day of my senior year. I still had 10 months to create a Roxy that people would remember. It wasn't over yet. Chapter 2, Friday. I waited until the next day to tell Jamie and Bertie about my revelation. I don't know why exactly. I usually tell them everything all the time. This felt different, though, more personal or raw or something. We were lounging around my living room for Friday movie night. This week's showing was Doolittle and Donuts. I nibbled a plain glazed and stared off into space. Even though I adored My Fair Lady, I just couldn't focus on what was happening on screen. My brain raced with the details of my own looming transformation. This was before Eliza headed to the races with Henry Higgins. I sat up. Know what? I agree. Me too. Brody looked over his shoulder. What are we talking about? I picked up the remote and hit pause. Professor Higgins was in the middle of talking and had a super weird look on his face. I was sorry to freeze him so undignified, but this was way more important than showing Eliza off to the city elite. What's up? Jamie licked a bit of frosting off her thumb. Why did you pause? This was the moment I'd been thinking about since yesterday morning, and now that I was here, I couldn't find the words. This was a new thing for me. Usually I had the opposite problem, meaning I didn't know when to shut up. There was just so much to explain. I wanted my friends to understand what was going on inside my head, but I didn't want them thinking I was a crackpot. Yeah, I was totally doing the thing where I tried to figure out the ending before I finished reading the first paragraph. I closed the book on that line of thinking and went back to my original statement. I agree with Henry Higgins. What? Jamie stared at me like I had donuts for ears. Are you serious? I nodded. Eliza was a mess before he stepped in. Sure, he went about the whole thing in a harsh kind of way, but in the end, he totally improved her life. Spoiler, Brody sat up and pointed at me. You just ruined it. Jamie threw a pillow at the back of Bertie's head. Give me a break. It's not like you were paying attention. I am. No, you aren't. Jamie shook her head. I can hear the theme music from Clash Royale when the movie gets quiet. Brody tucked his phone in his back pocket. Can't prove anything. I don't need to. Jamie lifted her chin. Everyone knows how you feel about this movie choice. You haven't really made that a secret. Jamie lowered her voice to sound exactly like Brody. James, for real, you chose a movie that has the words fair and lady. 2 out of 3. You realize I'm not a chick, right? Why do you guys keep choosing chick movies? It's not fair. I'm completely outnumbered. We need some more guys in our friend group. I choked back a laugh, trying to turn it into a cough so I wouldn't hurt Brody's feelings. Jamie's impersonation was so spot on it was ridiculous. Brody narrowed his eyes. Seriously, you mock my pain. Life is pain, Highness. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. Jamie leaned over to choose another donut, her hand hovering over the maple bars before she settled on a chocolate sprinkle. Bride and brownies. That was a good night. Brody sighed like nothing he experienced now or in the future would ever compare. Jamie flicked a sprinkle at him. Some would say Princess Bride is a chick movie. Ceasefire. I spread my arms wide. Jamie was hitting the activate button on her inner lawyer, and if she really got going, I would never have a chance to tell them what I was thinking. Guys, stick with me. We were talking about yesterday, remember? Yesterday at school? Yeah, Brody's face wrinkled. Tuna casserole on the first day. Seriously? Worst way to start the school year. It's not what I meant. I gave him a look. Seriously, like I would pause the movie to talk about tuna casserole. Guys are so weird. What I meant was that moment yesterday morning when you guys got to the lockers and had to wait for me to catch up. Do you remember that? Bertie scratched his chin. Sure, Jamie said. I remember. Her tone wasn't all that convincing. It was more like maybe she remembered. That moment yesterday morning was monumental for me. I couldn't wrap my head around the thought that it had just passed like it was nothing for my friends. What about it? Jamie prompted. This was it. Okay. The reason it took me so long to meet up with you guys was because something happened. Right, Brody nodded. I remember a bunch of freshmen set off stink bombs down the science hall. Is that what you're talking about? I stared at him for a minute and then shook my head. No, Brody, come on. Yesterday morning, I had a realization, a revelation. I paused to revel in the alliteration. Roxy's revelation, or the revelation of Roxie. I shook my head to help me focus. This is a big deal, guys. I think I need to make a change. Jamie stopped chewing. What kind of change? Why did it feel like every word was stuck in the ground with 4-foot roots? Come on, words. You and me forever, remember? We were the ultimate besties, never-ending supply. Maybe words weren't the problem. Maybe I started at the wrong place. I rewound the conversation, looking for a new beginning. This time I carefully explained to my friend exactly what happened when I saw the mural. I tried to keep it really facty so Brody wouldn't get antsy, and because despite giving it excessive thought for over 24 hours, I still wasn't sure exactly what happened to me yesterday. I just knew I needed to do something memorable in high school. And since I don't know what that thing is, I mean, I don't know what I'm good at or what will be a good fit for me, I'm going to try everything. Everything? Brody said slowly. He was probably picturing me practicing, excuse me, underwater basket weaving or racing a toboggan. Like everything, everything. Well, everything I can. I was thinking I'd try out for the school play this year, one of the lead parts instead of just sewing the costumes like I usually do. Maybe cheerleading or twirling or dance team, one of those. I also thought I could look into student council or peers. Do they still do peers? Both Jamie and Brody gave me blank looks. Well, Brody always looked like that. This was a novel. This was novel on Jamie, though. Never mind. I'll check into it on Monday. Also, a sport maybe, of some kind. Roxie, really? A sport? Jamie was my best friend in the whole entire world, which meant she'd experienced my most embarrassing moments with me, or vicariously. So what if some of them were sports related? That was a long time ago. We're supposed to get more coordinated when we grow up, right? And the newspaper and yearbook, and maybe a club, like oceanography or chess club. And that's it. The words came out in such a rush, I wasn't sure my friends could actually understand what I said. Brody let out a low whistle. That's it? Jamie said slowly. I picked up a throw pillow off the floor and hugged it to my chest. Yeah, that's it. Jamie set the last bit of her donut on the coffee table and leaned forward until her elbows rested on her knees. I thought you were looking forward to a relaxing senior year. That was the old Roxy, the one that didn't amount to anything. I was, but I changed my mind. That's a butt ton of extracurriculars. Brody leaned against the couch. Do you have time for all that? This question was much easier to answer. Yeah, I think so. Some of it depends on seasons and like practice schedules. I still need to sort out all the details. I just want to know what you guys think. I paused to give them a chance to tell me. When the silence stretched for more than 3 heartbeats, I added, what do you guys think? Jamie twisted one of her thrift store rings around her finger. I remember when she found that one at Annie's attic. It was 50s vintage and a killer deal. I mean, if that's what you want to do, that sounds great. Her words sounded right, but her tone didn't match. Yeah? I tipped my head to stare at her. You think it sounds great? Jamie sighed. Sure. I mean, maybe I'm confused about your why. Why do you feel like you need to do all those things? Where is this coming from? I almost said the mural because that's the first thing that popped into my mind, but I knew that wouldn't answer Jamie's real question. It was my turn to twist something back and forth. I chose my necklace instead of a ring. The horseshoe-shaped charm against the chain made a sound like a zipper. I guess I don't want to show up at our 10-year class reunion and no one knows who I am. I know who you are, Bertie said. I smiled at him with my mouth, but the corners of my eyes dragged downward. Thanks, Bertie. I appreciate that. So, Jamie paused. I think what you're saying is you want to be popular. Is that right? I hadn't thought of it that way exactly, but I found myself nodding. Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean, sort of. I don't want to leave high school without ever doing anything, you know? Like I was never even there. So, yeah, I want to leave something behind that matters so that I matter. Jamie picked at the yarn ties on the quilt spread over her legs. You make the best costumes in our drama club has ever seen. That's something, Brody added. I nodded. It was something, sure. It's not that I wasn't proud of the costumes I made. Last year, the Alice in Wonderland dress I designed won me $1,000 from the community college contest and a standing ovation at the end of the play. But that's not what I meant. I love making costumes, but I want to do more, bigger things. It's like the guy who said money makes things happen. I think I need to be popular in order to make a difference at school. And you want to make a difference at school, Jamie said. This time, she wasn't asking a question. I drew in a deep breath and held it for a sec before I let it go again. I just don't want to look back and regret that I never did anything. I never tried anything. I was never more than I am. Does that make sense? Brody shrugged. It doesn't make sense. I squinted at Henry Higgins' weird face like he would clarify. Brody shrugged for me. I guess it kind of makes sense, Jamie said, but what do you mean by bigger things? To be honest, I didn't know. There was this vague space in the back of my mind without much of a shape, sort of the way Scarlett O'Hara wanted Ashley. She had this idea of who he was and what it meant to be loved by him, and that's what she wanted, but she actually didn't have a clue who he really was. Wait, that was a terrible example. I wasn't like that, not really. Scarlett thought she wanted Ashley when she was really in love with Rhett. She didn't know what she wanted, but I did. I just didn't know how to explain it to my friends in a way that they could relate to. Never mind, it doesn't matter. If this is important to you, I'm all for it, Jamie said. Her words lifted my spirits. I could always count on Jamie. Thank you. I just need to work hard for a few weeks, I think, to establish the new Roxy, then everything will be pretty much the same as always, you know? What do you mean, the new Roxy? Brody turned all the way around so he could face me without cricking his neck. What's wrong with the old Roxy? Nothing. I held out my hands. That came out wrong. I mean that I need to establish myself in the new way I want to do things, or the new way I want people to see me. That's all. It will take me a few months to get it all online, and then we keeping on, like always, right? Brody continued to stare at me, making my toes itch. I appealed to Jamie so I could escape whatever it was he was thinking about me. James, what do you think? Her face went through at least 5 expressions before she ended with her mouth open. No sound came out, which didn't seem like a great sign to me. You can just say it, I grimaced. Whatever you're thinking can't be worse than saying nothing. Well, Jamie took an excruciating long time to get the words out. I'm serious that I support you no matter what. I'm still just confused about a couple of things. Yeah, I tried not to deflate. Of course she was confused. I was confused. This was confusing. Of course she and Brody needed more details. I just sprang it on them out of nowhere. And of course it would take them a while to process. It took me almost 24 hours to sift through it all, and I was still working it out. Jamie went on. You know people are going to think whatever they want about you, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? Spoken like a truly confident person, which Jamie was. She never wondered if should be different. She just let herself be. Sure, I agreed to keep her talking, not necessarily because I agreed. I wanted to hear her thoughts. Actually, I wanted her to agree with me. If Jamie endorsed this whole thing, then it would work. I was pretty sure. I don't want you to try to be someone else to fit in, you know? Don't change for other people. That never works.